To help me, I've recruited 2 judges. Benji, who would probably eat the shopping list if I dropped it on the floor, and Koda, who is considerably harder to impress, and therefore probably the judge whose opinion matters most. So let's see what we've got. Our first treat is Bella and Duke Beef Heart. At $9.99 per 100 grams, this is the most expensive treat in today's lineup. The ingredient list is simple: 100% ox heart with a little apple cider vinegar. That's exactly the sort of ingredient list I like seeing. No fillers, no starches, no sweeteners, and no mystery ingredients. Heart is nutrient-rich muscle meat, and from a nutritional perspective, there is very little to criticize here. The question is whether the quality justifies the price, because £10 per 100 grams is a lot for a training treat. Based on the ingredients alone, this scores very highly for me. The value score, however, is going to depend heavily on how much the dogs enjoy it, because there are cheaper treats in this lineup that are still heavily meat-based. So let's see what the dogs think. Next, we have Pet's Purest Rabbit Chunks at $6.99 per 100 grams. This one starts strongly with 95% rabbit, which I really like. Rabbit is a nice lean protein source and can be useful for dogs that struggle with more common proteins. But then we have glycerin and derivatives of vegetable origin. Glycerin is commonly used to keep treats soft and chewy, and it's generally considered safe. Although in some sensitive dogs, large amounts can contribute to softer stools. What bothers me more is the vague wording. What vegetable derivatives? From what plant? In what amount? Well, we don't know, but is it still a good treat? Yes. Is it as transparent as Bella and Duke? No. Now for Soopa, I don't know how to pronounce it, but anyways, the apple and blueberry treats. These are vegan and cost around $4.44 per 100 grams. Packaging looks good. Apple, blueberry, coconut oil, natural, plant-based, but when you actually read the ingredients, the first ingredients are potato flour and tapioca starch. And what's funny is that the apple powder is 1.5% and the blueberry powder is 1%. 1%. This is where I think owners need to be careful. The front of the bag is selling you blueberries, but you're essentially buying a starch-based treat with a dusting of blueberry powder. Our dogs are facultative carnivores. They can digest carbohydrates, but if I'm spending over £4 per 100 grams of this treat, I'd rather see animal protein as the main ingredient. We also have glycerin, which again is there for texture rather than nutrition. So would I buy this myself? Honestly, no. If the dogs love this, it might redeem itself slightly, but from an ingredient perspective and price, it's already struggling. As you can see, I've been abandoned by the dogs. Well, one is sleeping here on the bench with me and the other one is resting on the floor. Obviously, the treat tasting is a very demanding job and they need their rest. So let's get on with the rest of the treats. Next we have Hollings Venison at 4.38 per 100 grams. 91% venison, that's a strong start. Then we have glycerol, cornstarch and minerals. The glycerol keeps the treat soft, the cornstarch helps hold everything together. Neither is ideal, but at least they are being transparent about what's there. Compared to the price, this is looking very competitive. Lots of meat, relatively simple ingredients, and a much more reasonable cost than some of the premium options. This could end up being one of the strongest value for money contenders. Next, we've got the WOOLF Goat Soft Cubes at 4.29 per 100 grams. 85% goat, hydrolyzed starch, vegetable glycerin, and natural antioxidants. Again, not perfect, but fairly straightforward. Hydrolyzed starch is mainly there as a binder, and the glycerin is there to keep the product soft. I like the fact that the protein source is clearly identified, and I like the use of natural tocopherols as preservatives. This one feels like a sensible compromise between quality and price. So let's see what Benji and Koda have to say about it. Now we have Coachi ocean fish and sweet potato treats at 3 pounds per 100 grams. And the first thing that jumps out at me is the name, ocean fish. Most owners would probably assume fish is the main ingredient. Well, it isn't. Fish meal makes up 26% of the recipe. The next ingredients are sweet potato, chickpeas, potato starch, and peas. In other words, most of the product isn't fish. There are some nice additions like MOS and chicory, which can act as prebiotics, and small amounts of turmeric and ginger. But let's be honest, those ingredients are present in tiny quantities to make any difference, really. This one feels like a heavily processed treat with a long ingredient list and a lot of marketing. I don't hate it, but I think the packaging is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Next up, Rosewood duck coins. At $2.99 per 100 grams, these are surprisingly affordable. 84% duck breast is genuinely impressive at this price point. Then we have potato starch, vegetable glycerin, and sorbitol. Sorbitol is a sugar alcohol used to keep products soft and can contribute to loose stools if consumed in larger amounts. Also, I'm not so keen on the look of these treats. Even though the majority of it is meat, they look heavily processed. But let's see what the dogs say. Next are these Wellness Core soft lamb and apple treats. At just over £2 per 100 grams, it's reasonably priced, but let's look at the ingredients. Lamb makes up 26%, dried apples make up 0.5%. 0.5%. Most of the recipe is potatoes, tapioca starch, glycerin, peas, and chickpeas. Then we have beet molasses, which is there largely to improve palatability and sweetness. Again, this is one of those products where the name sounds much more impressive than the ingredient list. Personally, I think this is another example of marketing getting ahead of nutrition. Now we have Antos mini bones with chicken at 130 per 100 grams, so quite cheap compared to previous options. And no wonder why. When we look at the ingredients list, it says meat and animal derivatives, cereals and derivatives of vegetable origin. What meat? Which animal? What part of the animal? What cereals? We don't know. This is one of my biggest frustrations with pet food labels. If a manufacturer knows exactly what's in the product, why not tell us? Or are they changing the ingredients depending on what they have available? I wouldn't buy these treats for Benji personally, and I don't recommend treats like that to dogs that are prone to tummy issues or on elimination diets, as it's impossible to know what could actually cause the problem if these are fed. Yes, these are cheap, but the lack of transparency is a major negative for me. And finally, Pedigree biscrok at just 34 pence per 100 grams. It's the cheapest product I managed to find, and unsurprisingly, the first ingredient is cereals. You get what you pay for, right? Then we have meat and animal derivatives, oils and fats and vegetable derivatives. The chicken content is 1%, the lamb content is 1%, and beef content is 1%. If somebody sold me a lamb treat and told me it contained 1% lamb, I would struggle to take that seriously. Yet, these are quite popular. But would feeding a few of these harm a healthy dog? No. Would I ever choose to buy them for Benji and not for video purposes? Also, no. But let's see what the dogs have to say. At this point, the dogs have tasted everything and we've got our results. What's been interesting is that the most expensive treats haven't automatically been the best value, but equally, the cheapest treats haven't offered the best deal either. Time and time again, the products sitting somewhere in the middle have been the most interesting because they've managed to balance decent ingredients with a price that doesn't make your wallet cry. So, let's hand out some of the awards. Come on. The Dog's Choice Award winner goes to... The Nutritionist Choice Award goes to... And the Best Value Award goes to... And finally, the overall winner, the treat that best balances ingredients, dog approval and price goes to... I don't actually buy dog treats all that often. Most of the time I make my own because, well, it's cheaper and I know exactly what's in them. But I know that's not what everyone else does. And sometimes it's useful to have a bag of training treats that you can simply grab and take with you. The problem is that once you start looking at what's available, it gets confusing very quickly. Some treats are marketed as natural, some are marketed as healthy, some cost almost 30 times more than others. And unless you're someone who enjoys reading ingredient labels for fun, it can be difficult to work out what's actually worth buying. Instead, we are trying to find the best overall value for money, because a good training treat has to do these three things. Firstly, your dog needs to actually want it. That's the whole point. If you're trying to teach a recall, reward a good behavior, or use food for enrichment, the reward needs to be rewarding. Secondly, you want to feel reasonably good about what's in it. Treats should only make up a small part of the diet, but if you have a puppy, a dog in training, or a dog that does a lot of enrichment, you can get through quite a few treats in a week. And finally, you probably don't want to spend more on training treats than you do on your dog's actual meals. Now that we've gone through all of the treats, I think the biggest surprise for me is just how little help Benji and Koda actually were. Don't get me wrong, they were very enthusiastic participants. The problem is that they liked pretty much everything, and when you think about it, that's not actually surprising. Dogs aren't standing there reading ingredients lists. They're not wondering whether the blueberry content is 1% or 10%. They are simply deciding whether something smells and tastes good enough to eat. And for many dogs, that's a pretty low bar. Benji would happily eat most things I put in front of him, and despite Koda being much faster in day-to-day life, even he worked his way through every single treat without much hesitation, which highlights something important. We often use phrases like, "my dog loves it," as if that automatically means a product is good quality. But dogs also love rolling in fox poo, right, Benji? Although you prefer cows much better, right? A dog's enthusiasm isn't necessarily a reliable indicator of nutritional quality. And that's why the responsibility ultimately falls on us. We are the ones choosing what goes into the shopping basket, the one reading the labels, and the ones deciding whether a product is worth the money. So while it's useful to know which treats our dogs enjoy, I actually think the ingredient list should influence what we buy far more than the taste test we did today. Because if a dog happily eats a treat that's 90% meat and will be just as happy to eat a treat made mostly from cereals, starches and vague animal derivatives, then we shouldn't really rely on their judgment. Thanks for watching.